All right, let's do this. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Sorry for the confusion. We had some technical difficulties, but we're here. I'm Ken Quinn, Regional Director with U.S. Term Limits. Boys, why don't you introduce yourselves?
Yeah, this is Ron Hooper. I am the Western Region Director.
My name is Ken Clark. I am the South Regional Director, Southeast. Welcome to our live broadcast. It is Thursday, about 3:36 Eastern Standard Time. Doing it during the day because we know everybody's at home. You're tired of the soap operas. You're tired of watching the news. Nobody's watching the news anymore. Tired of looking at your kids.
Actually, I know my boy is not too happy, but both of them, they had to come home from school and I'm kind of enjoying it. I don't see them very often. So it's been kind of nice. We've been having Risk tournaments every evening. We play about an hour and a half of Risk. So I've been enjoying that. So anyway.
They're enjoying it, Ken, or you're enjoying it, but that doesn't mean they're enjoying it.
Oh, come on. Don't ruin it for me. Well, everybody, I know we're all kind of stuck in a real quagmire right now around the country, but we want to give you hope. We're still here. We're going to get through this together. I don't know how long it's going to last, but we are America strong. Hoorah! We're going to get it done. We're going to come out on we're going to come out better on the other side of this. I've got I got a good feeling about that. So.
Well, I think it's going to change the way we live and work too. I think there's going to be a lot of changes as to, the virtualness of how we've become during this virus time.
Absolutely. And I'm sure everyone's been following the $2 trillion stimulus package. I don't think they want to call it a stimulus package. It's probably not the same as the previous stimulus package, but wow.
It's not as bad as the $6 trillion one that they presented. This one, and I'm not calling it a stimulus package, I'm calling it a porculus package.
Yeah.
And so that's basically what it is. I mean, when you've got billions and billions and billions of dollars in there for things that have nothing to do with what's happening in the crisis and coronavirus and all that, it's pork. It's period. I mean, it's what government does. And our federal government is out of control. They have no intention of reining it in. Doesn't matter what, party you're affiliated with. I mean, this is what they do. They throw money at everything. And this is just another opportunity to indebt your grandchildren. And I don't care how old you are. If you're 21 years old watching this, your grandchildren just got another $24,000 in debt.
Yeah, this seems to be, who was it? Rahm Emanuel said, don't ever let a crisis go to waste. And we're seeing them take advantage of it. Who knows what is in there? I'm sure over the coming weeks and days, we're going to see stuff that was shoved into this package that we are going to be like, you've got to be kidding me. And this is probably just phase one. I'm sure if this continues, keeping the businesses closed. I'm in Maine, and they have shut down all non-essential businesses. The good news is Dunkin' Donuts it's remained open, so they see that obviously food stores, critical companies are going to stay open, but for the most part, we've gone to a crawl. So anyway, that's why we're here. We are not going away, folks, and we want to take this opportunity to share with you what we're doing at U.S. Term Limits. As most of you know who've been following us for a while now, we are working on having the states propose a term limit amendment on Congress. We must change the structure to this system because it's corrupt. It cannot be fixed from within. We cannot change what's happening in Washington, D.C. by expecting voting for people and thinking things are going to get any different. It doesn't work that way anymore. So we need to change the whole structure by eliminating these career politicians that go down there. When I saw the 4 senators, guys, that dumped millions of dollars worth of stock after that Senate Intelligence Committee meeting, right, it just shows you how self-interested these folks are in taking care of themselves, their bottom line first, before they take care of the concerns of the American people. It's just
what it really shows is the arrogance of our politicians. They're not even trying to hide it. It's not even like it's a big deal. I'm just amazed. And they watered down that 2012 law where there were so many loopholes. There's nothing we can do about it. These people just kind of laugh at us. It's a short-term blip on the media screen.
Well, and what I find interesting is there's a Republican from North Carolina, there's a Democrat from California, and there are others. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. And there's there's more than the four that they're really making headlines out of. But what's really interesting is one of those individuals is saying, hey, I want you to do an ethics probe on me because what I did was legal. And you know what? She's right. And what she did was legal. That's the problem because there's one set of rules for them. There's another set of rules for us. We would be in jail for doing something like that, but they can do it all day long because they made it legal for them. And what that tells you is, like just in Animal Farm, some citizens are more equal than others.
Well, and they've created the ethics department so you'll never see the light of day of it because they want to protect the anonymity of the senators. It'll never, it's like basically sending it into a dark hole.
Well, back in 2012, they tightened up the loophole in all this, and they passed the Stock Act in 2012 under President Obama. And the purpose of the Stock Act was to make any financial transactions completely transparent for all members of Congress and federal officials. And it also was the whole reason that bill, I think it was the senator from Connecticut, I forget his name now, who introduced it, was to prevent insider trading. And so the intention of that bill was to prevent this from happening. It's interesting what happened the previous year, the following year, they amended it to make it a little bit easier for not members of Congress, but for federal officials. And they said that it was a concern of national security if people who work for the federal government, if their stock transactions were made transparent to the public. And so the only way you can find out the transactions and the deals that they're doing is by going into the basement and manually going through the actual hard copies of the transactions. And so there's always a loophole, guys, and that's why, because Congress makes the rules, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, the thing that kills me is they sit there and say, well, do an ethics probe. I didn't do anything that violated the law, and that right there is the problem.
Yeah, you're having your friends investigate yourself because they're all in cahoots together.
But they didn't violate the law, Ken. That's the whole point.
Well, it depends. If they violated the Stock Act, then there will be hopefully ramifications.
Well, but I'm not sure they did. I don't think they'd be so brazen calling for those ethics probes if they violated that law. That Stock Act didn't make it illegal.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, I don't know all the details of that thing, but something's got to change. And so, hey, that's why we're here. And nothing's going to change until we get rid of career politicians, right?
Right. There you go. That's why we're here.
All right. So
we can go down that rabbit hole all day.
Yeah, you guys, we all know what the bad news is. We all see it. I don't like to talk a lot about the bad news. I want to talk about the solution. And that's where we need to focus our time, our energy, anything that you folks can do out there in the states where you are. We need your help. We've got to get this done. And I'm going to cover a little bit of amendment history today to show you how amendments have worked in the past. And it's pretty amazing. Some of this information I'm going to share. I never knew this until I got involved in Article 5. So Ron, Ken, do you guys want to talk about some of the things, how folks can get involved? And if I need to go to our website to do that, I can show some.
Yeah, just put two links. Number one, if you haven't signed the petition, and if you haven't reached out to your closest 5 friends and family to sign the petition, then by all means you need to do that. And you need to take out your frustration by doing this. When you sign that petition, what that does is it allows us to reach out and tag your legislator and let them know that you want term limits. Number 2 is we really need volunteers. We put that link out there too. Did I misspell it?
No, it's limited to space. That's all.
I got you. Add the R to that and you got it. And then go in and tell us what you'd like. You'll see there's several areas from just getting people to sign petitions to social media. Maybe you're good with IT. something like that nature, we have a spot for everybody. So the two things we need are petition signers and volunteers.
Yeah, and this is an election season, so we also have a call to action, and the call to action is to ask your state senator and your representative to sign the U.S. Term Limits Pledge, and that is a pledge asking them to co-sponsor, vote for, and support and defend our Article 5 application, which is how we're going to get this done. And so I'm going to, before we close this out today, I'll show you where to find that link to do that. But that's really critical right now as well.
Yeah, and this is one of those types of situations where if you really believe like we do, and I think any thinking human does, that Washington, D.C. is broken and our government is out of control. And what's happening now in D.C. is a prime example of that. This is our
what's going to be frustrating about it is a lot of those high visibility people that people just scrounge. I mean, when they see them, they just pisses them off. Those people are going to be reelected. 95% of them. I mean, you could go through and pick them, and they're going to end up being reelected. They have so gerrymandered their districts, they have no choice.
That's right. So this is your opportunity to do something. Now is a really good time because a lot of us are stuck in our homes. We can't go to work like we normally would. That's why we're doing the broadcast in the middle of the day as opposed to at 8 o'clock at night like we normally do on Thursdays. But you're home. So now, we always talk about, and people always talk about Facebook and social media, sending emails, making phone calls. Now's the time to do that. We're making hay right now. We're able to get a hold of legislators who would normally be in committee meetings, normally be at the Capitol and very hard to get in touch with. Now they're available. Nationwide, they are available because I'm pretty sure most state capitals are shut down. So that means you have the opportunity to actually talk to your legislator. You have the opportunity to reach out to your friends, family, and neighbors in a way that you normally couldn't. Now, I'm not saying go over to their house, but I am saying call them, send them an email, send them a text message, whatever. Pick up the phone, call those legislators, let them know that we need our resolution passed in 34 states, which means we have to float resolutions in all 50 states. Wherever you are, if you're, whatever state you're in, get your friends and family to help you and create a network of term limit supporters in your neighborhood, in your district, in your state, and keep that network going. Now is the time to be networking and building that team to help us when the time comes to move our resolution. Now's the time because we've got this unreal advantage, this unreal opportunity to reach out to people and get them to raise their hand and say, yeah, you know what, I'll help. Because this is going to end and everybody's going to go back to work, and then it's going to be a lot harder to get those people on board. But get the commitment out of them now.
Yeah, Craig Young asked the question, what is stopping us from term limits? And so, I'll briefly touch on that, Craig. Great question. Normally people, the first time they jump on board with these live Facebook streams that we do, they say, well, let's vote them out. Let's vote for term limits. And unfortunately, we can't put this on the ballot. This was actually placed on the ballot back in the 1990s in 21 states. The people voted to put term limits on their own members of Congress. But in 1995, the Supreme Court overturned all of those state laws. In the case against us, it was U.S. Term Limits versus Thornton. And so the only way that this can be done is with an amendment to the U.S. Constitution. I'm going to get into the details here in a little bit. And what's stopping us is a few things. Number one is there are lobbyists and bureaucrats and opposition groups like the John Birch Society, Eagle Forum, Common Cause, groups like that do not want this. They're trying to protect the establishment, maintain the status quo. So we have opposition groups out there. We also have a lot of state legislators who themselves do not understand the process. They are fearful of it and the reason they're fearful of it is because the lies that are spread about this. And so we have a lot to overcome. And the best way that we can do that is by educating people and putting pressure on the legislators, on your legislators to pass this. And so it's a heavy lift. And that's what Ken was saying. We need everyone to do this now. Get involved, stay involved, and let's get this done. We've got to get to 34 states to call the convention, to propose the amendment, and then 38 to ratify. So that's what we're working on, and that's why it's good to see so many people joining us and getting along our side here to help us. And so it's going to take some time, guys. It's going to take some time.
Kim, give us a history of some amendments, and let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's do
I
it.
think is really interesting.
Yeah, so this is kind of neat. So let's go to Article 5, everyone. I'm going to pull up my screen here. Give me a second to share it. We talked about some of this briefly on the last week's live stream. So let me pull it up. And I'm going to ask us to disappear. I'm just going to turn off our cameras for now. And can you guys see the PowerPoint there, the slide?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let me turn off that. Okay. So I'm going to go into a little history in Article 5. So Article 5 is our amending provision, and the National Archives. Now, I've said this last week, and I share this whenever I do a presentation. I like to just ask this question. And the question is this: take a guess how many amendments Congress has introduced to the U.S. Constitution since 1789. And, some people will say, I don't know, 50, 30, 100. The answer is over 12,000. Over 12,000 amendments have been introduced to the Constitution. And I'm not making that number up because I want to show you. I went to the site today and I downloaded the data. You can do this yourself. If you go to that website, you can actually download the spreadsheet. And what I'm showing you right now is, now, technically, if you look at these amendments right here, these were the first ones introduced. You notice the date, 1788, 1789. These were actually introduced by the states when they were ratifying the Constitution. A number of states, as part of their ratification, they wanted amendments. So I think about 131 amendments were introduced along with the state ratifications. And so I guess we would have to subtract these amendments from the 12,000. So technically, let's do that. Now, I briefly want to show you, I'm going to go through here we are, 1977. You can see how many amendments were introduced. And this is kind of fascinating. You can get a real good understanding of what was going on in the country as you look at these amendments. And let me get to the last page here. Now, the data runs out in the year 2014. And you notice we're up to 11,798 amendments. That is just incredible. Now, these are not amendments that were proposed to the states to get ratified. These are just simply amendments that were introduced. So any member of Congress can stand up on the floor of the House or the Senate and introduce an amendment. And then that amendment will typically get referred to a committee, and that committee may have a hearing on it. They may break up and discuss it. Some of these might get to a floor for a vote. But it just shows you the process. On average, about 150 amendments are introduced every Congress. Now, out of the 12,000, only 6 of these, 33 were actually proposed. So out of 12,000 amendments, 33 were proposed to the states for ratification. And these amendments right here that you can see on the screen, these were the ones that did not get ratified. Now, you notice on that Equal Rights Amendment, for some reason, it says ratified by 38 states in Congress, implementation uncertain. That's incorrect. The ratification for that amendment ran out, and it's no longer active. So I don't know why this website has that. But if you notice, the other ones were a little bit later. Most of them did not put a 7-year timeline on it, and that's why they're still showing as pending before the states. And if you notice the one that says Congressional Apportionment Amendment, the second one down, that was one of the original Bill of Rights amendments. So that's actually still pending. And so these were the 6 that did not get ratified. The Corwin Amendment was one that dealt with slavery back in 1861. And let me go to the next screen now. This is what I wanted to really blow your mind with here. Okay. Term limits. We all want term limits, right? Well, do you guys think Congress is going to propose a term limits amendment for Congress? What do you think?
Oh, I think they might propose it, but I don't think it's got a chance of ever getting out. Somebody will introduce it.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody's going to introduce it, but will it get the 2/3 vote to pass to be proposed? It's never going to happen. Let me prove that to you. Now, if you go through that spreadsheet that I showed you, I think term limits on Congress has been introduced about over 200 times. Last year alone, in this current Congress, the 116th, we're looking at 12 term limit amendments. So 12 of them have been introduced. The two that I highlighted are ours. Those are the ones that have been introduced by Senator Ted Cruz and also Representative Francis Rooney. That's our amendment. The other ones are different. Now, this is the problem, folks, if you're watching this. Congress will introduce amendments all day long, and a lot of these are great amendments. It's just we can never get enough good people with the right principles to get the 2/3 needed to pass it so that the states can ratify it. And so that's why we're going about this through Article 5, so through the states. Now, here's a brief history of the 27 amendments to our U.S. Constitution. Now, the first 10 are the Bill of Rights. Those were all ratified in 1791. Okay, and as we go, I'm not going to go through each one of these, but amendments work. You know, we hear all the time, well, if they won't obey the Constitution, what makes you think amending it is going to make a difference? Well, because amendments do work. The ones that we really see them being usurped and maybe stretched and bended a lot is the first 10. Because why? Those were proposed when the U.S. government was still only 6 months old. It was a little baby. It is now a Godzilla. And so we need to see amendments that address the problem. And so for a while, the Bill of Rights, yeah, a lot of those are still observed, you know, but they're weakening, right? We're seeing a weakening of these. If we go through our history, here's the next page. Okay, we get to the 22nd Amendment. That's our favorite. That puts term limits on the president. That was in 1951. Term limits day is February 27th. And if we get to the last one here, the 27th Amendment, there it is. That was actually proposed by James Madison. That was the last one that was ratified. That was actually the 11th out of the 10 Bill of Rights. That was number 11. So what I'm trying to share with everybody is, listen, folks, Article 5, the amending provision, gives two methods of proposing amendments. Either Congress can do it or the states can do it. It's equal authority. The states have never introduced under Article 5 one single amendment. And so now I'm not counting those first ones that I showed you because technically those were proposed by Congress. And so what we're trying to do is we want to use the same mechanism that Congress takes advantage of virtually every single day they're in session. We want the states to finally use their authority. So that's my, I'm off my hobby horse, and it just drives me nuts that state legislators are not waking up to their own authority under Article 5 to get this done for the American people.
Well, and what drives me crazy is there are those in the state legislature that do understand that they have this authority. They're just afraid to use it. They are flat out afraid. Some of them I'd go so far as to say they're cowards because, you know, the state.
If they've lasted very long, they owe their soul to the party.
Right.
And the party is really dictating everything they do.
The states built the federal government. The states have the authority to fix it. They just have to use that authority.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's part of the question earlier, what's stopping term limits? That's a big one. That is a big one. We need leadership in the state legislatures to step up, realize they have this authority, not be afraid to use it. And that's where you folks come to play. You need to, if you guys want this, it's up to you. We can't get it done. It's up to you. You need to pick up that phone, call your state senator, your state rep, and say, hey, listen, where are you on this resolution? we got to put pressure. It's got to be coming from the bottom up, because if we leave it up to these guys at the state level, they've got a lot on their plate, especially now. And so
most states have 3 people you need to worry about: 2 representatives and 1 senator. State representative and state senators. Get to know those 3 names. You can go to our site and you can look them up, actually.
Yeah, let me pull it up right now, Ron, so people can see what we're talking about.
And become intimate with these people. They need to hear from you from time to time. Believe it or not, they only listen to their constituents. So when they see your name come through 2 or 3 times, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it really is.
Okay, can you guys see? Okay, let me bring this in now to, give me 1 second. Wrong one. Bear with me. All right. So this is what we're asking folks to do. If you have not done this yet, please do so. So here's our website. It's termlimits.com. And all you need to do is go to where it says current actions. Do you guys see that? Can you see where I am?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
Yep.
So the first one down under current actions, it says contact your state legislator. So when you click on that, what that's going to do is if you, once you fill in your information, for some reason it's not, there we go. It's a little slow right now. So once you fill in your name and address, because we have to have your address because that's how we connect you with your state legislator, what it will do is it's going to pull up who your senator is, who your reps are if you have more than one. And this is just briefly a simple email. We made it real simple. You just click the red button down there below, and it's going to send this message that you want them to support this. 82% of Americans want this, and you want them to sign the U.S. Term Limits Pledge. And that pledge states that they will support this Article 5 application if it's currently in their legislature or when it gets there. And maybe if you do this, you might have a legislator who also supports term limits and doesn't even know about this, and maybe they will end up sponsoring it. That's what we want. If you get an email back from doing this, from a legislator that wants more information, please send it on to us so that we can follow up with them and get them involved and get them to sponsor, because that's critical. So anyway, just go to the top of our website under current actions and that top one right there. Okay.
And please put in your address. It's so important. It becomes so powerful to send it directly to your legislator. And the only way we can do that is having your address.
Right. Without your address, we don't know who to send it to. So we need to know what district you live in. And that's the only reason we need your address. We're not going to be sending you bulk mail. We're not going to sell your information. We just need to know what district you're in order to contact your legislator and let them know you signed the petition. That's it in a nutshell.
And let's face it, guys, right now, it's election season. And I know things are kind of, I'll be honest with you.
Maybe.
I don't know what's going to happen with elections because this is one thing. Okay, this is really interesting. Congress, the Constitution actually gives Congress the authority to oversee elections. I think the only thing they cannot decide on is where elections for senators will take place. So this is my guess. We're going to see this little provision in the Constitution become a rather hot topic over the coming months.
It's going to be a very big deal.
Yeah, because if this situation that we're under right now does not alleviate soon, there's going to be some decisions and conversations taking place about what do we do about the elections. And watch out, guys. This was a huge issue for the anti-federalists when they were sending in those amendments to the Constitution originally. This one little provision, they were freaking out over this, because they thought Congress was going to control all elections. And I can see something happening with it now. So stay tuned. I'm making a prediction. This will be on the news soon.
I have a feeling it's going to get ugly. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, everyone, we're in this boat together. We are not going away. In fact, I think what we're seeing in Washington, D.C. right now is going to help and even accelerate this effort. And we need you guys. We need everyone out there. Share this, share our petition, join our state Facebook pages. I've started some Facebook page groups in a number of my states. So if you are in, let me remember now, if you are in New Hampshire, Vermont, Pennsylvania, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa, please join those state groups because I want to get us working together as a team, and we're all going to be stuck home for a while. This is how we can communicate with one another, and let's get this done. I'm excited.
Amen, brother. Amen. We need everybody's help. That's all I've got to say.
Ron, what you got, man?
No, we're good. No matter where you're at, if you have a Facebook page, go in and create a group with your closest 3 or 4 or 5 friends and family and start to talk about term limit. That's the way to start. You've had all kinds of success. By the way, we're watching our ranks grow every quarter by 25% and over 50% with volunteers. And so this has obviously got the attention of angry voters. So please reach out to the rest of those angry voters that you know and get them to go to termlimits.com / and sign that petition. Thanks a lot, Mr. Bennett, for doing that. I noticed your text. We appreciate you going in and signing that. So tell your friends and family. It's very important to us. Add that address.
All right, everyone. We're going to sign off. Stay tuned. We'll be coming back, and I apologize for the technical difficulties earlier, but we got it done.
At least I wasn't doing it, sir. It would have been far worse had I been crying. So,
all right, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.